Ladies and gentlemen, please one more time, if you're outside, let's come in and find our seats so we can resume for our final panel session. Please let everyone come in and find their seats.
Will be money.
Good afternoon once again, welcome to the West Africa Journalism Innovation Conference. Our theme for this year is Accountability Journalism, Nurturing Innovation for a Sustainable Future. Now I know we've all had lunch, we've had some networking, but before we get back to the program of the day, the serious matters, I want us to just ease ourselves back. I know lunch can be very difficult, and I'm very sure some of you are struggling right now, but we've come up with something to ease you into the afternoon portion of today's event, and we call it Finish the Lyrics. So you have two options when I come to you, and I'm coming to anyone randomly. Please, can I have your attention? If you're in the hall, I need you to find your seats. Let's resume our activities, please. Let's quiet down and get back to what we came here to do. So you have two options. One, you can either tell me something you've taken away so far from the session today, or two, you can decide to finish the lyrics to any song of my choice. Hey, I heard somebody, so is that my first victim? Is that my first victim? No, but let's just have some fun. Let's ease ourselves back into the conversations of the day as we get started. Please, once more, if you're outside in the hall, let's come in. If you're in the hall and you haven't found your seats, please let's sit down and let's settle down. So I'm coming to you randomly. Something you've learned today, taken away from the conversations today, or you get to finish the lyrics to any song of my choice. I should start doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Why is everybody avoiding looking at me? Like everyone is avoiding eye contact with me. I'll still find someone. Okay. Good afternoon. Please, your name. You can decide to tell me something you've taken away from today, or you can finish the lyrics for me. Your choice. Choose one.
Okay, my name is Nafio Manga. What I've learned here today. Yeah, first I've learned to be innovative. You know, as a journalist, you can't afford, to allow artificial intelligence or whatever that have come to overtake, your ingenuity. So you have to continue to be creative, to be relevant in the feed. And I'm also networking with colleagues from other, media organizations and many more.
All right, so that was so easy. I'm not going to be difficult. So remember your name, choose to either finish the lyrics or tell us something you've taken away from today. I've seen somebody else. Excuse me. All right, please, your name?
Pamela Lebdun.
Do you want to finish the lyrics?
No.
Wow, everybody's avoiding the song. All right, what have you done today?
My take home for today is the fact that journalism or AI shouldn't be something that should scare us. Instead, it should stir up our curiosity as to see how we can use it to our advantage as journalists.
Thank you very much. And the gentlemen behind you think that it's so easy, so let me come to them. Hello. Who was laughing more? Oh, wow. Okay. This one. All right. They've all voted for you. I'm so sorry. Do you want to finish the lyrics? You're not even asking me what song. I can't dance either. I'm not dancing. This is not a Nigeria's Got Talent. All right, so tell me your name and tell me something you're taking away today.
Wow. I'm Abiodun Jamiu. So far, I've learned. About the importance of employing multimedia tools to enhance storytelling, and I think it's quite a treat for us.
Thank you very much. Let me see. I think I've taken one person on this side. There's one special person I have on my mind, but that person has no choice because we're simply going to allow them to finish the lyrics. They're not going to choose anything else. Let me quickly come to this side. Once again, if you're outside, please come in. We are starting our next session, and then we'll keep things moving. Let me see. Hello, gentlemen. See how everybody's avoiding eye contact. Please, your name and something you're taking away for today.
Kende Osasona. I write for Blueprints newspapers.
So what are you taking away so far?
So many, but more importantly, the fact that the narrative it has to do with violence against journalists globally should be given a different.
Does anybody have any idea who I'm going for? Huh? Yes, good afternoon, sir. DJ, is my song ready? Spyro, is it ready? Please, is it ready, DJ? Yes, they want to hear you sing. No, Richard told us you give the audience what the audience wants. Is that not right? Did Richard not say give the audience what the audience wants? DJ, play the song. I'll play the song. Let's hear. Let's hear. Hey, hey, go Dakpo, go Dakpo, go Dakpo, go Dakpo. Please, let's help him. I can't hear you.
Now only me, one life.
I can't hear you.
See us we daily be sunrise. I will never leave your side.
I will never leave your side.
I dedicate my life to you, my God.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, DJ. Thank you so much. Just a quick warm up. One more warm up so we help our lunch digest. Can I get everybody to stand up, please? Let's stand up. Let's stand up. We have a bit more time to sit down. So just a bit of exercise for our stomachs here. We're going to quickly spell coconut. I can hear you already. It's very simple, and I have Shemaima to thank for this. Shemaima, thank you. I was racking my brain for something to ease us into this afternoon session from lunch. So we'll start with spelling coconut. C. Please stretch. Let me see that stretch. C. O. Another C. Another O. N. U. And T. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for yourself. A round of applause. Thank you so much. So let's get back to the business of the day. I'll still come back to Uncle Dakpo, but he has escaped my clutches for now. Thank you once again. You are with us at the West Africa Journalism Innovation Conference, the very first of its kind, brought to you by the Center for Journalism Innovation and Development, as well as sponsored and definitely supported by the MacArthur Foundation. Please, a round of applause for them once again. So we were not able to take all of our goodwill messages earlier, so we do have another goodwill message that we want to take now, but we have a panel session, the last for the day, coming up that focuses on journalism education in the 21st century. But quickly, let's go to a goodwill message coming from Dickens Olewe. He's the program officer for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Agriculture and gender, and they do fantastic work. And as you can appreciate, around the world, many media organizations are facing a lot of pressures, including financially.
So once we're able to get that sorted, we'll also be taking a look at a campus journalism project, a documentary that was put together with the CJID. And then again, as I said, the panel session, the second for the day, 21st century.
Hi there, my name is Dickens Olewe. I'm a program officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in charge of the Africa portfolio in the Global Media Partnerships team. I just wanted to say congratulations to CJID for organizing another conference. Your leadership in leading research and conversations about the future of journalism, and especially in West Africa, is truly remarkable. The foundation supports Premium Times reporting in matters health, agriculture, and gender, and they do fantastic work. And as you can appreciate, around the world, many media organizations are facing a lot of pressures, including financially, and are not able to do the sort of reporting that they want to do on the topics that I've just mentioned. And therefore, we are happy that we're able to facilitate and provide resources to help Premium Times do what it wants to do, essentially to covering these important topics. And with CJID as well, your work is incredibly important in really understanding what is happening in West Africa, just in terms of media innovation, including the conversation and the conference that you just organized. I was also asked to give my point of view about the future of journalism. And one of the things that I'll just say this briefly, obviously, is I think, of course, there is warranted anxiety in the media industry because there's a lot that is happening, a lot is changing. And right now, obviously, there's great concern about artificial intelligence and what the impact of that will be in journalism. And I think that I remain incredibly optimistic about journalism finding ways of adapting and also surviving as an industry. I still believe that there will be a role for journalists in the future. And I think one way of kind of making sure that journalism and journalists are relevant is just to make sure that your business is people.
We have one more goodwill message coming your way now, and then we'll get straight into our final panel of the day.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jochen Luckschalter. I'm the director of the Abuja office of the Heinrich Böll Foundation. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate in person, so I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development for hosting the first edition of the West Africa Journalism Innovation Conference. At the Heinrich Böll Foundation, we value our long-standing partnership with the center, with whom we have worked over the years on issues such as fighting disinformation to protecting the freedom of the press in Nigeria. This conference under the theme of accountability journalism is just another expression for me of the thought leadership position that the center holds in the media sector in Nigeria and beyond. Because the quality of the media to a large extent determines the quality of our public conversations, which in turn influences the health of our democracies, this meeting to me is of crucial importance. And I would like to wish the participants fruitful exchanges on how the sector can tackle existing and emerging challenges while remaining sustainable, but also true to its intended purpose, such as being a watchdog and public educator. Thank you very much.
So thank you to those who, even though they were not able to be with us physically, they also send their goodwill messages and participation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go straight into our final session, our final panel of the day, which is looking at journalism education in the 21st century. Let me first introduce the moderator for this session, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Please, a round of applause for him. Professor Adeniyi had his first degree from the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and has worked at Today newspapers in Kaduna, also Guardian newspapers as well, and he has also bagged a diploma in journalism at the International Institute for Journalism. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Communication and Development, and also speaks as a motivator in different spaces and places. Please, again, a round of applause for Professor Adeniyi. Also joining this panel, I have Professor Audrey Gezepo. She is a professor of communication studies at the Department of Communication Studies and also former dean of the School of Information and Communication Studies, University of Ghana. She has 30 years of experience in teaching, research, advocacy, primarily on media, gender development, and governance issues. Please, a round of applause for her as well. Also joining this panel, I have Professor Umaru Pate. He is a Nigerian professor of media history and an academician. He is the vice chancellor of the Federal University Kashere in Gombe State and the former dean, School of Postgraduate Studies at the Bayero University in Kano. He's the president of the Association of Communication Scholars and Professionals of Nigeria, a member of the UNESCO Network of Communication Professors. Please, a round of applause for Professor Pate. And also joining this panel now, I have Dr. Williata Kemi James. She's joining the panel as well. She is a Sierra Leonean journalist, lecturer, and gender advocate. She has some 20 years journalistic experience and holds a Bachelor of Arts with honors degree, first class, in mass communication, a Master of Arts in Gender Studies, a Master of Philosophy in Mass Communication, and a PhD in Communication. Please, a round of applause. And finally, but not least on this panel, I also have Mr. Idris Akinbajo. Mr. Idris Akinbajo is a multi-award-winning Nigerian investigative journalist, which has his stories focusing on exposing corruption, human rights abuses, and the failure of regulatory agencies. He is currently the managing editor of Premium Times. Please, once again, a round of applause for all my panelists as they are on this panel. We're looking at journalism education in the 21st century. Please, let's give them our attention and, of course, our time. There will be opportunity for question and answer before this panel wraps up as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's over to our moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. And of course, like the panel has been well introduced, it's a started one, a repository of journalism knowledge, both in the past and the present. I need no elaborate introduction anymore. I have guest practitioners, Professor Andrew Gatsegbo, Of course, one of the most cited scholars in journalism in the West African sub-region. Umar Pate, household name, first Nigerian professor of mass communication north of the Niger. Until recently, the leader of the reform that went on in mass communication studies in this country. He's a professor of professors, a teacher of teachers, and of course, we'll benefit from him this afternoon. Dr. Willette James is no less experienced, very vast from the famous Farabi College in Sierra Leone. And we look forward to savoring, benefiting from a wealth of experience, And of course, Idris Akibajo, live in practice. While we are hearing from theoreticians, I beg your pardon, of course, he will come in from the angle of practice, if you want. And here I am as the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is simply to open discussion on the question of journalism education in the 21st century. And we know very clearly it's a very topical issue, very, very important issue, very germane in the light of the revolution going on that is tweaking the space of communication and confusing meaning. You know, no thanks to the rise of communication technology. Yes, we have to celebrate. We have to be celebratory about the rise, but of course the onus is on us to contextualize it. And beyond contextualizing it, you know, how do we train and retrain ourselves faced with the rising question of so-called citizen journalism and the obfuscation of fact, which I'm sure has been featuring all day in this conference, the question of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and if you like, infodemic, according to WHO. You know, all these things are happening, and we have to put them in context at the level of the practitioner. Who should the practitioner be? And what kind of training should the practitioner have in the new times that we are in? And faced with the fact that the future is gradually also coming upon us, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, you know, and of course, hypertext document, confusing world. What training should we have in this century? It is over now, ladies and gentlemen, to my panelists, very qualified people to deal with this question. And by the powers conferred on me as a moderator, I think I want to start with Akimbajo from my right. Thank you. A round of applause for him, please. Okay. Yeah, just respond to the question, you know. What kind of training do you think the journalists should have in the new world that we're in, where all sorts directly or indirectly coming into the profession, you know, masquerading as citizen journalists, or who are ordinarily empowered by the possession of the smartphone, and they think that they can obfuscate meaning, you know, confuse reality, shape knowledge, you know, in the way they think, you know, against the background of our understanding of journalism as reporting the truth, evidence-based facts, and of course, evidence-based facts, you know, so that you don't run foul of the law. Yep.
Thank you very much. First, I think the organizers set me up by putting me amongst professors. However, as a practitioner, I must say that one of the things that we in the media industry who practice see is that there is a lot of gap between the skills journalists need outside of classrooms and what they are taught in many classrooms in West African universities. We see that gap a lot as employers, as media managers, and so for us, first I think there's need for better collaboration between journalism teachers in schools and practitioners on the field. I think there is a stronger need for collaboration so that you can marry the two together and the students can gain both the theoretical knowledge from the academics, from the experts, and also real practical knowledge of the 21st century journalism. First, I would say is that to be able to practice accountability media, which is the focus of this conference, is that journalists need skills on investigation and investigations, and I think they need to be trained properly on how to do investigations. Secondly is that in the 21st century and in the increasing age of technology, journalists need to learn a lot more about data journalism. There is increasingly a lot of data out there by government agencies, by private institutions. A lot of journalists coming out from schools are not able to interpret this data because they hardly do any data journalism trainings while in school. So there is need for practical lessons from school on proper data journalism. There's also a lot of need for media entrepreneurship for young journalists who are in schools. There is need to help understand that the media industry is changing and media sustainability needs to be taught right in school so that journalists who are coming out from schools know the reality of what they are coming to face, that the media is challenged in terms of sustainability, and how they, even if they decide to set up their own independent media, are they able to do this? How do they plan to fund it? How do they hope to sustain it? But overall is that there is need to train student journalists who are in school on investigative journalism, data journalism, AI, and its roles in journalism. I think those things are so crucial for the 21st century. And I practically think the way to achieve a lot of that is for there to be better synergy between academics who are teaching journalism and practitioners on the field who can help the students understand the practical things that they're going to experience when they leave school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks a lot, Akiva Joe, for that excellent contribution. Of course, we've talked about better collaboration, very important, accountability media, interpretation, data journalism, media entrepreneurship, media sustainability, AI, and of course, you reiterated the question of synergy as well. I think it's against that background that we also have to locate these regular, expected pedagogical dimension, if you want, within the times that we are in, and that's where the professors will now begin to come in. What do you think, ma'am?
I think the starting point of the conversation is a very important one, because we have to begin to listen to the needs of the people who are practicing in the field. And so a good question for us to ask ourselves as journalism educators is, are we meeting those needs? And if so, how are we meeting those needs? I think in recent years, we ourselves have begun to realize that there is a gap between what we teach in the classroom and what is happening in the field. I don't believe that we can fill all of the gaps. I think that some of the gaps will necessarily be filled when people get into the newsrooms. However, we need to speak to the expectations of the industry. And we can start doing that by stronger collaboration. In my country, Ghana, the Accreditation Board, which authorizes programs, has a prerequisite that before you mount a new program, or if you are revising old programs, you ought to show that you have engaged the industry. And that is forcing a lot more media educators to engage the industry on a formal level. But that only happens once in a while. We need to engage a lot more, and perhaps we do that a bit more informally. After all, we tend to be the resource persons when there are training programs, for example, for media practitioners. How are we changing our curriculum? We're changing our curriculum by contending with the fact that there's, again, a technological development. As was noted, I think earlier on today, media is underpinned by technology. So every once in a while, the technology that underpins media is going to change, from the print to the broadcast, radio, television, internet, social media now, AI now. So we have to contend with it. We have to follow those trends. And also the fact, very important, that the platforms are collapsing. So, for example, in my institution, where we used to have broadcast journalism, print journalism, online journalism, we've collapsed it. We now have multimedia journalism that can contend with all the ways in which you ought to engage with the multiple platforms. It's not enough to teach students in silos. I think the industry wants students who can do both print, broadcast, understand audio, understand the internet, and understand how to gather news and information and use and disseminate it on multiple platforms. I have to confess that today when I was listening to the earlier speakers, I said, you know something, we are not contending enough in the classroom, at least I know that me and my colleagues are not, with how students can use social media for news. In the theoretical classes, we tell them that's possible. But in the practical classes, in our journalism courses, we are not interested in teaching them how to use Instagram, you know? That's one. Two, we ourselves need to retool. Because a lot of professors are not, in a more practical way, engaging with the developments in the field. They do that in a theoretical manner. In other words, because we have to read and research, on a theoretical level, we understand that changes are going on. But on a practical level, how do we translate them into our courses in ways that matter to students? So yes, so you're absolutely right. We need to contend a little bit. However, I will absolve her to say that there are also capacity building opportunities when people go into the field. And as our conversations progress, we need to contend with that. And the last point I'll make, and I hope the chair will give me more time to elaborate on it, is what our research agenda has to be. What should our research agenda be in order to inform our classroom practices, but also inform policy and also inform the industry?
Thank you very much, Prof, for taking it from where Idris stopped, you know, by emphasizing the need for a synergy, you know, between the town and the gown. And of course, you also highlighted the question of filling the gap. You know, what do practitioners need, you know, and how do we change? How are we trying to change the curriculum? Do we have to continually review journalism modules? Then, of course, the question of social media comes in. To what extent are we sure that the teachers of journalism are actually abreast of development in town, particularly as it concerns, you know, the new media, the social media, the digital media, et cetera, et cetera. Capacity building came in as well. Then finally, research agenda. Very excellent contribution, no doubt. And of course, flowing from that, we'll have to bring it. Madam Professor, you know, spoke largely from the Ghanaian perspective. Now we have to bring it, let's bring it back home, ladies and gentlemen. And recently, Professor Pate was at the head of a committee, you know, that, how do we put it now? That changed the mass communication curriculum in this country, and of course was eventually injected into the new CC Mass by NUC. And the question to ask Professor Pate now that he's here is, sir, do you think that change, or after concluding that assignment, do you think there's any other new needs, you know, for us to effect any further change in the build-up, you know, to the adoption of the new curriculum across Nigerian university? And I ask this question because of the continuous changes, you know, happening because of the evolution of technology, as the case could be. You know, what would be your opinion, sir, if you are asked what more change do you think we can inject, or do you think that we should just stop at the last one, as the case, the last curriculum, which you superintended? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Professor Adeni. Well, you know that everything about life is dynamic. Nothing is static, certainly not journalism or communication. One of the most dynamic industries in this world is the media sector. Communication is very, very dynamic in every sense of the word. Now, before 2017, many of us were getting worried about the quality of stuff that we offer our students in the universities and maybe polytechnics. We were worried about the curriculum against the backdrop of evolution in contemporary media industry. I have been fairly involved in UNESCO activities at different levels globally, and the World Editors Congress, and some few other platforms. And each time I attend a meeting of any of these bodies, the kind of things I hear, the kind of things that I see, it really challenged me. In 2017, we started the process of re-examining and reviewing the Nigerian media curriculum, media and communication curriculum. In doing that, we brought in as many stakeholders as possible. UNESCO was represented by the head of UNESCO Communication Office in Paris. He was with us here in Nigeria. The media industry in Nigeria was represented. The civil society sector was represented. Regulatory bodies like the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, National Press Council, NIPR, the Advertisers Practitioners Council, as well as, of course, the NUC. We were all involved, and of course, communication teachers, whoever that mattered in communication education in this country was part of that process. It took us almost 2 years, but for COVID, then we took a comprehensive and clinical examination of what we have been teaching in this country. We also looked at the evolving trend globally and also took note of what universities outside Nigeria are also teaching. At the end of the day, we agreed that, look, we have to change. One, with the advent of the internet, there is a space for digital communication, and digital communication has completely changed or revolutionized the practice of journalism globally. We must be part of that trend. We can't afford to remain at this station. Number two, the nature of politics evolving globally, not only in the US where at that time issues of fake news, hate speech and all of that were being emphasized, but even locally, we were seeing serious emergence of populism politics in this country, where emotion overrides understanding and objectivity in public policy. Then issues of conflict at the global as well as the local level. Terrorism was becoming an issue in Nigeria, all sorts of conflicts, intra-community conflicts, all sorts of things that were destabilizing society. And in all of this, you cannot extricate journalism. Then you look at the socio-economic system generally. So when we took a comprehensive examination of all of these trends, we realized that we just must review. So we convened. One, we brought in the issue of multidisciplinary approach. Journalism is no longer just an issue of teaching students about how to write and report only. You have to take note of other disciplines and see how they affect and influence journalistic processes. Then issue of being mindful of the economic situation in Nigeria and globally. So we now decided to unbundle what you could describe as mass communication into 8 new disciplines: BSc Journalism, BSc Broadcasting, BSc Development Communication, BSc Advertising, BSc Public Relations, BSc Film and Multimedia Studies, BSc Strategic Communication, and BSc, is it Broadcasting? One other I can't remember. So 8 new programs. Now, in these 8 new programs, there are cross-cutting issues all across. One, with the advent of the internet, journalism has become democratized, limitless opportunities are being created, but profound problems are also emerging that must be addressed, that are challenging or that are existentially challenging to the survival of journalism. So we now identified the issues. One, at least within the Nigerian context, you have funding. Globally, funding is becoming a challenge because of the emergence of the platforms. Money that should ordinarily go to journalism is now going elsewhere. So survival has become an issue. Equally, you have new owners of media organizations that in the past were not there, are now emerging. With little money, you can now become a media owner. Internet is there for you. You don't need to set up a big establishment like the NTA, FRCN, or some radio stations. With your small money, 2, 3 of you, you're on the internet and you're in business. You are now challenging the big establishments where a lot of money has been sunk and people have been employed. So there is a challenge for media funding. So how do we now train students who can graduate and not only know how to report, become excellent editors, but they must also have the skills for making money for their organization to survive. 1, they can be on their own. 2, they can become productive staff in any media organization. Hence, we have come up with a course or with courses in media economics and management. Simple. It is often said in journalism, economic independence determines editorial independence. Therefore, you cannot survive if you do not have the money.